In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to replace the Human Touch Super Novo Backrest Actuator. First thing we're going to do is disconnect the batteries if you have them in the battery compartment. This is to make sure the backup battery power does not kick in at any point during this process when we have the power cord unplugged. So, looks like we don't have any batteries in there, but if you do, disconnect the batteries from the battery terminal, and then we'll power off the chair and unplug it. Next, we'll gently tip the chair onto its left-hand side. Next, we're going to remove the cable junction box cover to access the connectors there. And you do that by popping off the inside cover there. The top of the cover is on the inside, but it's not secured by screws. So simply pop that off. And then pull down the connectors out of the box so you can see them. And disconnect the two white connectors. Then we need to fish that cable out from the cable bundle there. There may be a zip tie that needs to be cut. In this case, ours is nice and loose, so we can just fish the cable out through the bundle there to free it. Next, we're going to tuck that cable bundle up out of our way, just like that. Next, we're going to rotate the foot and calf massager to the right to expose the panels behind it, and we need to remove both of those panels to gain access to the actuator bolt. So once those 5 Phillips head screws are removed, we can remove the outer panel. Next, we'll remove the 5 screws that secure the inner panel. We're not going to completely remove that panel, but we need to be able to rotate it out of the way. So once we rotate that panel all the way flat like so, then we'll use a vice grip to secure the nut on the bottom of the bolt and a 6mm Allen wrench to remove the bolt that secures the front of the actuator. Okay, once removed that nut and bolt, we can do the same thing to remove the rear bolt. And finally, we need to disconnect this ground wire. To do that, we need a Phillips head screwdriver on the back side of the frame there. Now we're ready to remove the actuator from the chair. Before we do that, place your fingers underneath both mounting brackets because there are inserts at both ends of the actuator and we don't want them to fall out and fall into the chair. So as you slide the actuator out, retain those inserts inside the actuator so they don't fall into the chair. Before we install the new actuator, it isn't actually showing on this part, but with these inserts here will be secured by a wire that goes through there and is twisted together. So before placing the shaft into the mounting point, you'll need to untwist and remove the wire that is securing the insert. So once you do that, hang on to the insert and you can go ahead and put the actuator into position. Okay, and it can support itself there once the mounting points are aligned. And then we can reinsert the bolts and secure them with the nuts. Next, we'll secure the ground wire to the frame. Okay, now we're ready to connect the actuator's connector to the corresponding connector in the cable bundle there. And then we need to re-secure those cables together using a zip tie. In this case, we're just reusing the one that's there. Once you have the cables arranged with one cable in each slot, like so, then we can pop the cover back on from the back. Again, making sure those cables stay in their slots so they don't get pinched. Now we're ready to install the two plastic covers. Before we do that, we're going to look at those 10 screws that we removed, 5 from each cover, and you'll see that they're all the same except for 2 of them look like this at the top, and all the rest of them have a built-in washer like this. So we want to keep these 2 separate before we get started. So to align the top, then we need to tilt the cover so that we can clear that bracket there and then tuck it behind that bracket, and then we'll go do the same thing at the bottom. There we go. So once that cover is between those 2 brackets with the wheel coming through the center, we're ready to align the screw holes and replace the 5 screws. We'll start at the top Okay, after we replace the 2 top screws, then we need to position this connector bracket, lining those screw holes. And that's where we're going to use those 2 special screws that don't have the built-in washer. And then finally, a regular screw with the built-in washer for the last screw hole. Now we're ready to install the front cover. To do that, we're going to slide it in behind here, but keeping it in front of these brackets. Okay, and we can see when the screw holes are aligned and replace the 5 screws to secure it. Okay, then we're ready to gently return the chair to the upright position. Then we're ready to plug in the chair and power it on. And confirm that the backrest actuator is working properly. Now to do this, when you go to recline the chair, remember that the chair moves all the way forward first before it starts to recline. And remember, if you remove batteries from the battery compartment here, replace them. And we're done.